Here comes Hewy, gonna give you the news. Time to watch his animated movie reviews, where the hand-drawn CGI puppets will play. If you've got a good story, you'll be making his day. See you at the movies, cartoon movies. See you at the movies, hold on to. See you at the movies, like nobody's business. Hey, see you at the movies, animated movies that is.
Aloha everyone, I'm Hewy Toonmore. Welcome to Hewy's Anime Movie Reviews, the show where I review anime films from old or recent, whether they be hand-drawn, stop-motion, or computer-generated. You know, this... I have closet doors now. And my wall's a different color. Anyway, Disney's certainly been on a roll this year, haven't they? I mean, aside from mediocre hits like the BFG and the Pete's Dragon remake, films like Zootopia, Captain America Civil War, Finding Dory, and the live-action Jungle Book remake have done spectacularly well at the box office, even becoming the highest-grossing movies of 2016, with 3 of them even crossing the billion-dollar mark. It's also a nice break away from the whole Frozen phenomenon, so let's just let it go. No pun intended. So, will their latest anime release be as successful as their last film, or have they lost a bit of their touch as 2016 comes to a close? Well, we're about to find out. Released on November 23rd, 2016, the movie is Moana. As always, because the movie is still currently in theaters, this review will not contain any major spoilers for those who haven't seen it yet. So with that said, on with the review. The movie takes place hundreds of years ago in the early years of the Polynesian voyagers. Our main heroine, Moana, the daughter of an island chieftain, is chosen by the ocean itself to carry a magical stone called the Heart of Te Fiti back to where it was taken from before her island is plunged into darkness. Seeking Maui, the demigod responsible for taking the heart in the first place, the unlikely duo, plus a chicken, set sail on the high sea in order to return the heart to help save Moana's people. Now, what are my thoughts on the film? Did Disney release 2 great animated movies in the same year? Well, I have to be honest and say, yes. Yes, they did. And I am very proud of them for doing so. But to fully understand why I enjoyed the film, let's move on to trivia time. The movie was directed by the legendary duo of John Musker and Ron Clements, whom I've talked about before in my reviews of The Princess and the Frog and The Great Mouse Detective. Moana also happens to be the first fully computer animated film the two have ever directed, and I must say these guys have not lost their magical touch when making the transition from paper to pixels. Now originally, the two wanted to direct an adaptation of the Terry Pratchett novel Mort. Unfortunately, there were problems trying to secure the rights, so to avoid a recurrence of that issue, they instead pitched 3 original ideas to Disney. And of course, one of the ideas they picked was inspired by the demigod Maui and his heroic tales in the Polynesian legends. And yes, I said Polynesian, not Hawaiian. There's a difference. Kinda. Besides, Disney already did Hawaii. To truly bring in the accuracy of the South Pacific, the directors themselves had taken trips to Samoa, Tahiti, and Fiji, met the people, and studied their culture as seen in the film. And since Clements and Musker were already working 12-hour days and Saturdays directing such a large team of animators, Don Hall and Chris Williams, who had just finished directing Big Hero 6, came on board as co-directors to help fix the film's story issues. Speaking of the story, the plot is, for the most part, a run-of-the-mill Disney tale. The teenage princess who wants more out of her life defies her father, comes across a quirky but fun-loving sidekick, has an animal that tags along, and ultimately fulfills her destiny. However, I will give it credit for having some interesting elements thrown here and there, and the biggest surprise for me was, unlike the other recent Disney films, this one does not have a twist villain. Well, not in the way you'd expect, anyway. Now as for the animation, in early development the film was originally supposed to be made with the traditional hand-drawn animation, but ultimately the filmmakers decided to use computer animation instead. Damn it! First Frozen, now this! Oh well, I guess I'll have to wait a little longer for Disney to make another traditionally animated film. Now, to be honest, one of the reasons the filmmakers decided to use computer animation was because the Polynesian environment, including the ocean itself, would benefit better from it. And I totally have to agree with them. I mean, just look at the water. This has got to be some of the finest animation I've seen used for water since the animated short Piper. The ocean flows and waves are smooth as silk. At times I actually felt like I could jump in and swim in it, it was so convincing. But creating the ocean as a character made it incredibly difficult for the animators because the team had to not only program a CGI ocean to behave the way like real water does, but also give it a personality the way the real ocean doesn't. The animators used a mix of industry software such as Autodesk Maya with custom-built add-ons and Hyperion, Disney's global illumination renderer. And fortunately for fans of classic Disney animation, like myself, the filmmakers were gracious enough to include some incredible hand-drawn animation within the film, including the opening prologue, Maui's song number, and even Maui's tattoos, which became a character in itself, all provided by legendary Disney animator Eric Goldberg, whom you may remember for animating the genie in Aladdin.
And speaking of Maui, he's not fat, he's muscular, so quit fat-shaming Disney already, you ignorant jackasses! Anyway, because this is technically a Disney princess movie, that also happens to make it a musical, and the songs have to be some of the best I've ever heard from Disney.
The music was written by 3 different composers, Mark Messina, Opetia Fo, and Lin-Manuel Miranda. Each of them wrote the songs while Messina did the score. Now, I'll only talk about 3 of the songs in the movie since I don't want to spoil too much for those who want to hear the rest for themselves. First up, we have How Far I'll Go, performed by Moana herself, which is the standard lead female song about journeying beyond home.
See the line where the sky meets the sea, it calls me, and no one knows how far it goes.
Now, I have to be honest, while this is a good song to listen to, I kind of feel that it's trying too hard to be the next Let It Go. And God knows how much people already praise that song like there aren't already any better ones.
Next up, we have the sort of villain song, Shiny, performed by the treasure-hoarding coconut crab, Tamatoa.
Could look shiny, I will sparkle like a wealthy woman's neck. Just a sec, don't you know?
Jeez, he sounds like Tim Curry at times, and the song feels reminiscent of Rocky Horror Picture Show. But it also almost feels like a big-lipped alligator moment. The key word being almost. Because while it does serve a purpose in the main plot, most of it just feels pointless. In fact, calling this a big-lipped alligator moment doesn't sound right. Neither is calling it a random bald-headed Canadian moment. I know. How about a big shell crustacean moment? Yeah, that sounds about right.
And finally, we have what is perhaps my favorite song in the whole movie, Youre Welcome, performed by Millie. This song is just awesome. It's in the same league as other great and catchy show-stopping Disney songs like Under the Sea, I Just Can't Wait to Be King, and You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me. Also, on a side note, kudos to Disney for taking a polite phrase and making a catchy song out of it. All I can say to that is, thank you.
You're welcome, you're welcome.
So now that we're done with the animation and songs, let's now move on to the characters and the actors who lent their voices in order to bring each and every one of them to life.
Our main heroine, Moana, is voiced by newcomer Auli'i Cravalho. God, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. Funny story is that Cravalho originally didn't want to audition for the movie because of how many other actresses were auditioning. But after some encouragement by a casting agent from Oahu, she finally tried out and won the role after being the last person to audition out of hundreds of actresses. As for her acting, I thought she did pretty good for her first role. A lead character that has the determination to learn new skills and the conviction to sail through new waters and territory to return the heart of Te Fiti. Next up, we have the shapeshifter, demigod of the wind and sea, and hero to all, Maui, voiced by WWE wrestler turned actor Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now, I have to admit, I am not the biggest fan when it comes to Johnson's acting. Not surprising since he's been in such major stinkers such as Tooth Fairy, Journey 2, Planet 51, and Southland Tales. Though I did enjoy him as Hercules in the 2014 Brett Ratner film, and I thought he did a pretty good job in this movie. Though I kinda had a love-hate feel with his character Maui, because at first he seems like the kind of guy you just love to despise, but later on you feel sorry for the character and what he's gone through. Plus, I just love that living tattoo sidekick of his. He's just a riot. It's almost like a mime version of Jiminy Cricket. Then there's Hewy, Moana's pet rooster, whose vocals are provided by Alan Tudyk? Seriously? Again? What is up with you and Alan Tudyk recently, Disney? Is he like your Lucky Charm or something? Like how Pixar keeps putting John Ratzenberger in all their movies? Anyway, he's been described by director Ron Clements as the dumbest character in the history of Disney animation, and that's actually not too far off. Wow, a character even dumber than Ed from The Lion King. Never thought I'd see the day. Anyway, aside from one moment in the film, which feels like an ex machina for the story, Hewy pretty much contributes nothing other than just being a comic relief. Hell, I rather would have preferred seeing Moana's pet pig Pua go with her instead. He was cuter and he's on a lot of the promotional material, so why wasn't he the sidekick? I guess we'll never know. Next, we have Tamatoa, the giant treasure-hoarding coconut crab voiced by Jermaine Clement, whom you may remember for voicing Nigel from the Rio movies.
Huh. No wonder his ego seems so familiar.
And as I stated earlier, his role in the film doesn't add much, but you can't help but laugh at how over-the-top he is when he's performing his song number. Certainly better than Nigel's song from Rio, that's for sure. As for the other voice actors, we have Rachel House as Moana's Grandma Tala, along with Toonmore Morrison and Nicole Scherzinger as her parents, Chief Tui and Sina. All do an equally phenomenal job as supporting characters. Chief Tui feels like the typical father who is a bit overbearing, but in the end is a reasonable man. Sina is the loving, supportive mother who gives Moana her blessings, and Grandma Tala is the wise hermit who gives Moana direction in life, but with a bit of comedy added to her character.
And now for my final thoughts on the film.
Overall, Moana is yet another home run hit from Disney Animation. The animation is gorgeously breathtaking, the characters are unforgettable, funny, and enjoyable to watch, save one, and the music and songs are another staple in the lineup of Disney tunes that'll live on long after release. And yeah, at times it may act out like a typical paint-by-numbers Disney film, but that's not always such a bad thing. Predictable, yes, but not bad. Heck, there were some genuine surprises throughout the movie. So with all that said, I am very happy to give Moana, the newest addition to Disney's Princess franchise, even though she doesn't really consider herself one, a perfect rating of 5 gold stars. Yes, I did have a few nitpicks with the film, but they were insignificant compared to how well everything else flowed into motion. No pun intended.
And with that, Season 9 of Hewy's Anime Movie Reviews has come to an end. I'm really sorry I couldn't get a Christmas-themed review out for you this year, but I promise I'll make it up to you next year. Cross my heart. So anyway, be sure to join me again in February for Season 10. Until then, this is Hewy Toonmore saying, see you at the movies. Anime movies, that is. And have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year.
Thank you.